Orpheus was a poor boy, but he had a gift to give. He could make you see how the world could be in spite of the way that it is. And Eurydice was a young girl, but she'd seen how the world was. When she fell in spite of herself, in love.
Way down, Hadestown, way down under the ground. Way down, Hadestown, way down under the ground. Way down.
But Hades gave her a choice to make, a ticket to the underworld.
I'm coming away from me. I hear the walls repeating. They're falling about defeated. It sounds like from hell. And I'm coming.
Just how far would you go for her?
You haven't seen Hadestown yet. What is wrong with you? It is absolutely amazing. And today we have Nickolaus, the Hades, from Hadestown. Nickolaus, let's just start from the beginning of your career and take me back to like when you were a kid. What kind of kid were you? What were you interested in? What were the things that, drove you?
It's it's funny. My mom, this is gonna be great for my book one day, but my mom said I didn't have first words. I started singing a George Strait song, and that was my first words, which is a total lie to me, but it sounds great on paper. No, I was just a very loud kid. I loved music. I loved dancing and running around, and I come from a military family, so I was, my dad is drill sergeant, and then eventually when I met my stepdad, he was a ex-special forces. So my mom also was, my dad and my mom met in the military. So the whole family's military. And then I just was like, man, I really love country music. And then when I was a kid, all of a sudden my dad, who's this hardened Army 82nd Airborne, loved My Fair Lady for some reason. He loved My Fair Lady and that movie with such a burning passion. And that was it's because of my hardened military father that I actually am into musicals, because he had a VHS of My Fair Lady that I watched all the time with him. And then he also had a VHS of Cats for some reason. So Rum Tum Tugger is my hero. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Were you in school? Were you on theater, or did that come later?
That came second grade. Mrs. Hall, she had heard me humming and stuff like that, and I used to love music class because back in my day we had the bells, and so everyone had the little bell, and you just did your bells. But then they were doing the school musical, and it's a Christmas musical. It was Happy the Snowman. And they said, Nick has a great voice. We should try this. And I was nervous. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it, and this and that. And then I got cast as Happy the Snowman. And there's a video of me out there just singing. And this is how I kept time to the song. And I was just waddling around on stage. And ever since that moment of being on stage, I never looked back. I started taking classes from North Carolina originally, and there was a regional theater there, and they had a summer camp, and my mom scrounged together some money, put me in it, and I've never wanted to do anything else ever since. So yeah, second grade is when I just knew that I was gonna do this.
Yeah. So how did the audition process for Hadestown work out for you?
Yeah, so it was pretty standard. I got an EcoCast. There's a website out there that they send you, and it's here's all the materials. And Hades is pretty simple. You only have to sing Songbird, and if you get the call back, you sing How Long, which is the duet with Persephone. And I did my initial self-tape, I think April of 2024, and then a couple weeks later, I got a in-person callback and did that one real quick, knocked that out. And then they asked me in the room if I wanted to come back for the final callback. I was like, yeah. So that was a week later. And then that's when I met Nemisa. and we met up and we were paired together. There was only 4 of us. There was 2 Hades, 2 Persephone, and they set us up into pairs. They didn't mix match anything. Namisa and I went in, and yeah, it was just like I've never felt so comfortable with someone just immediately. And yeah, we just had a really good feeling when we left the room that we got it.
Awesome. So you didn't have an agent then? You did this all on your own?
Oh, I do. Yeah. My agent submits me for everything that I do, and I get that through them. That's also where a lot of the voiceover stuff comes through too. I actually have a recording next week in Chicago. They're going to find me a studio. It's another commercial that I'm doing for Rinvoke. And yeah, that's just the life. You just get random emails that are like, hey, film this thing, send it back, and hopefully it catches.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we do a lot of voiceover work, on the recording side and the producing side here at the studio. And Rich, my production partner, he's actually behind the camera, like right now, so he's waving. Like he's by trade an audio guy, right? And so like he's a voiceover director, and always hiring different talent, and across the world. So we're very familiar with how like that voiceover work goes. Are you SAG? Or are you any other unions?
Non-union for voiceover. Yeah. Voiceover is so like, I love it. Growing up, especially when I hit puberty and all of a sudden my voice sounded like this, people are like, oh God, you gotta get into voiceover work. And then I was like, oh yeah, I really want to. And I was like so set on animation and stuff. But then when I met my agent, they just started sending me out for commercial things. And then I booked my first cheap work commercial, and it was just completely different than what I thought. Like voiceovers, it's like more conversational. Like you're talking to a friend about this Chevy Buick that's gonna be, I don't know. It's just like it's like this medicine that's for your knee, but you're talking to a friend, and it's like right. But man, there's something about being in the studio and just especially when you have an amazing like sound engineer just in like outside of the booth just working with you. Man, it's so much fun. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So are you able to do some of that work while you're on the road with Hadestown? So that's
I get very lucky when a casting comes out and they do want me. Luckily we've been hitting some pretty big cities on tour. So back in January, I got another one for, I can't remember what it was for, but they were like, where are you? I was like, I'm in Detroit. So they found a studio in Detroit, and it was a recording studio, and they just had, the internet is a beautiful thing, and they just had the producers call in. I was in the booth. The sound engineer was in New York. The other guy was patching me through to the other guys, and yeah. So, and that's the same thing for next week. Is they're a New York-based thing, but I'm going to be recording in Chicago.
Excellent. Well, if you're ever going through like the Cleveland area or Northeast Ohio and you need a resource, I mean, we do that all the time. People just come in doing exactly what you're doing. They stop in, they go in the booth, they record, we connect to wherever they need to be connected, and it works out really great. So as a resource for you, like we're in this part of the country if you ever need it. Oh,
I definitely will. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, for those of you that maybe you're under a rock or something like that, and you don't know what Hadestown is and what Nickolaus does on this traveling tour, is Hades is the most booming voice and a powerful voice you will ever hear. Right? Like there's certain tracks, we went to see it. There's certain tracks where I literally felt like the chair moving, right? Like your voice was just so powerful in the top row, like everything shakes. It kind of reminded me of, the scene in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex first comes out and you see like the water shaking on the thing. Yeah, that's kind of like what the vibe was. And then particularly, like the big number going into intermission, like when you get build a wall, when you get, angry during that, I mean, it is like jaws were dropping. People were like, oh my gosh. Can you talk a little bit about your experience, kind of like, that song in particular, but just the nature of like who you are and how perfect it is for this character?
I think it's so amazing that like, I remember the first time I heard the soundtrack and I heard Patrick Page sing it, or I was like, whoa, it's just like, it's so simple because it's just a sound you don't hear anymore on Broadway. You really don't. But then when I saw it live, my partner took me for Valentine's Day in 2024, which was just funny. I was literally like a month and a half before I got the audition. I was like, I saw the show, changed my life. I saw Philip Boykin be Hades, and he was incredible. And I was like, I have to do this show. And then I got the audition. But yeah, there was one thing I was really like, especially working with the sound team and the sound designers, and the Broadway sound designers came in and helped us set everything up, and they're incredible. But they really helped me feel comfortable in not having to do too much to show how powerful I am. They were able to build me a mic rig that would just let me be able to, like, if I wanted to whisper, if I wanted a quiet, intense moment, I could have that and the whole audience could still hear it. Or if I wanted those moments where build the wall, the energy is just rolling so vast that I have to just like scream and yell it out to the masses that the whole theater could like feel it. Like there's a bunch of Hades who play him very cool. He's always collected. He's always got the cap on. And I was like, man, this guy has to be like pissed off a little bit. Like your wife is just gone 6 months of the year. You're like the king of this like awful kingdom, but like there's got to be something there. So my take on it, I wanted to see what would happen if the cap just came off a little bit, where you saw little moments where Hades actually like loses control for a second, and you see how powerful he can be. And yeah, the sound team just helped me because I'm loud normally, but the sound team just helps make that whole theater ring.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite parts. I'm glad that you did that, like let loose a little bit and showed that the anger that character had, because he's such, like, in the way that you play him is like this cool, collected, I have everything together, even the movements, right? And then just, in that moment at the end when he gets angry and you show that chink in the armor of like there's actual like human emotions in this character, it's pretty incredible. So we appreciate you doing that and showing that side of that character.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing about the show. I start off and like I'm in the 3-piece suit, and all my movements are just like, it's all calculated and like precise, and everything I do in the show is like choreographed. I've choreographed like everything. And then by the end of Act 1, the jacket comes off. When I come back for Act 2, the vest is open, the shirt's open, all that stuff. But yeah, a great thing we worked with, I was working with Keenan, who is our director, was, it's like, he has to see himself in Orpheus, and he has to see that young, naive, stupid boy he used to be. And also it has to hurt because Hadestown is a reflection of his love for Persephone, because she keeps leaving. So he's going to build a town that has the brightness of sun, that has the warmth of the earth. Like everything about this show is for Persephone. And time again, it is all his stuff is with the right intention, but is just completely doing the opposite. And that's where all the, it's like, what would you do if you're about to lose everything? What happens when someone has that much power, but is also led by so much fear of what happens if she doesn't come back? So yeah, I love this show. I just love it so much.
Yeah. I love, one of the things I always love about, anything, stage plays, movies, is where, like it's not black and white, who's the villain, and then, or who's the antagonist and who's the protagonist, right? Like it's all about perspective, right? So like from their perspective, they're doing what they think is best, and for the around them. And I think, kind of like Hades, at least in the way that you guys perform it, and the way this version is written of the story, he is, like in his own world, he's not the antagonist, right? Like he has things he has to do, and there's certain roles, even though they're his own roles, that he has to follow, right, to keep order and everything. And I think that's what makes it so beautiful with the tragedy and how it comes to end. And I tell you what, there were people around me that when we saw it, just gasp. There's moments, you know, when things hit you and you're like, did that just happen? Right. You know, and it keeps you on through the, you know, through the act 1, act 2, and, you know, even the end. It's one of those ones where it's over and you're like, I wish there was, you know, when you kind of start over again, I'm like, maybe there's going to be more, you know?
Yeah, the biggest thing they told us in rehearsals when we all started doing this show was it's a show of hope. It is, we tell you from the very beginning, it's going to be bad. It's going to be sad. It's not going to end well. But the music's really like, it's happy. We're going. It's like, but we're going to try. We're going to try. And, you know, you talk about like antagonists and stuff like that. I've thought about this for, you know, months now being on the tour. And people think, you know, there's people who think Hades is the bad guy. Some people think like Orpheus is the bad guy because he like was so captivated in his own thing that he forgot about his love, blah, blah. For me, it was, I think the main thing about the show is that no one can escape fate. Because in the show, the fates are the ones who, like, Hades changes his mind. Like, the flower comes out, like, Hades is, like, ready. He's hesitant, but he is almost ready to let these kids go. But there's a question of the city and blah, blah. But then the fates, word to the wise, they're the ones who get into his head and start getting everything going again and be like, you can't do this. And then doubt comes in with Orpheus. They're the ones who are literally just singing in the back of his mind the entire time. And yeah, I just love this show because it's, you know, the mirror between Hades and Orpheus is, doesn't matter if you're a god, doesn't matter if you're just a man, no one can escape fate. But we're going to try. But we're going to keep trying.
Yeah. And I love the theme of choice, right? You know, like you're given a choice. Like this is like up to you on what your future is, right? Yeah. You know,
even with
and that was one of the messages I took.
Oh yeah, even with Eurydice, there was a big, when they were developing the musical, there was a big discussion and almost like mutual decision that it was like, yeah, she has to make the choice to go to the underworld. It can't be that Hades comes and steals her and like rips her down into the underworld. It has to be, no, you're starving. I have this. You make the choice. I'm not going to do it for you. And that's why she comes in during Wall. And it's like she made her choice. And everyone makes choices, whether they're good choices or bad choices. Yeah, it's all about, we all have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it was funny when we're sitting there. First of all, when we saw it, it was completely packed. You know, I saw it in Akron.
Okay, gotcha.
Completely packed. Yeah. And the age range of the audience was all over the board. I mean, there was kids coming in, like school buses, right? Of like everyone coming in, to people out on a date, you know, with, you know, like their significant other, to families, groups of families, to just a group of friends, right? Like it was just so wide of an audience. And I think it, like this particular one, you know, hits. Like it makes sense for so many people. I mean, it's pretty incredible that it can do that. Yeah,
it's one of the huge blessings of doing it, particularly this year, is the teen edition has been released. So Hadestown made the teen edition and released the rights. So all these high schools across the country are able to do Hadestown. And it's amazing because you have these kids walk up to you and they're so excited to meet you, but they're like, hi, it was like, I was Persephone. I was the first Persephone ever in Tennessee. And it was like, they're so like proud. And also you see some of the sets of these teen productions and some of these high schools got money. And I'm like, I mean, they got a turntable, but I don't. I was like, how's this going? But, but no, but also the show is like, it's not, you know, I grew up on Cats and My Fair Lady. It's nothing like that. The music is just so appealing to anyone. Yeah, it's also, this show has such a cult following like nothing I've ever experienced. This is my 4th time out on tour, and I have never received this much following and like just attention for anything. So yeah, Hadestown has been amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny you talk about like the cult following. So another fun story about when we saw. So after intermission, we come back, we sit down, and I'm sitting next to my wife, and we're talking, about like the first act, and I had some questions, because she had she hasn't seen it before, but she had like listened to the whole soundtrack, before in its entirety, and kind of like knew where everything was going. Where I only listened to it in pieces and parts, you know what I mean? So like I didn't have like the story. So I'm asking questions like to her, and quietly, like you guys weren't performing yet. And there's this group of teenagers in front of us, and they turn around and they were so excited to tell me, to answer all the questions that I had,
Oh, yeah.
because I was like, so she goes down to the underworld for 6 months and then comes up for 6 months, like, and that's when spring is, like, is that how? And they turn around and like, no, here's what happened. And they're just explaining it to me, like the whole, and their faces just lit up that they can be able to, explain this to someone,
So good.
like me in this environment. So I was like, okay, there's something special here.
Yeah. And it's one of those really cool things too, is that like, there's not many of us who get to actually like look into the audience. But I get to, Hermes definitely gets to, because they're talking to you guys the entire time. But I have, Wall, and then I have, His Kiss the Riot. And you talk about the age range thing. It's always so much fun to see every single night. It's just like there's every demographic of every kind of person out there, because Hadestown is just relatable to so many people, and the music is just, it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. This kind of like will lead me into the next topic, because like when people go to these shows, it's like the most important thing to them, like in that moment, right? Like they're expecting, like to be not only entertained but inspired and wowed, and like just take something from it, right? So I'd like to talk to like your opinion or your perspective as like an actor, on this, where you're doing that, you're the rigmarole of the travel, and you're going from city to city, and the responsibility of, like every night you have to bring, like your A game, for the audience. Can you talk a little bit about that process, and like what kind of goes through like your mind in prep, and then like how you take care of yourself, and what travel's like?
Absolutely. First thing I'll say is tour is not for everyone. Everyone looks at a Broadway national tour. It's been something that's been of acclaim since they started doing it so long ago. But like an example of a day, I'll just give you like Monday, Tuesday. So Sunday we finished the show. Then we had the night off. Then we had the rest of the evening off. We just had a matinee. Monday we woke up at 7:00, got on the bus for a 7:30 departure, left, did all that travel. We got to the next place by 5 p.m. And 5 p.m. for the rest of the night. The night's yours. Then for a 8:30 for a 9:00 travel on Tuesday, we left at 9:30, had a lunch stop, landed here in Chicago around, and we were Eastern time, so we went back. We landed here around 2:30 p.m. And we had a show that night. That was our opening night. So we had a 2:30. We arrived in Chicago after being on the bus for that many hours. Then we got to the hotel, had about an hour and a half to relax, shower, get ready. Then we walked over to the theater, had a cast meeting. Then we do about 35 minutes of sound check. Then after that, everyone gets in the makeup and costumes, fight call, lift call, everything. And then we put on a show. So yeah, my opening night day started at like 8 a.m. And we traveled from a different state, came here, and did the show. So that's not all the time, but it's an example of like, man, the schedule can be crazy sometimes. For me, the reason I am able to, and I do pride myself on being able to bring my A game every single night, is I'm a believer of when you do a long-term contract, you have to find a why. Why am I doing? Because, like, for instance, last night was my 187th show. So it's like, why do you do this? How can you? And the why is what leads to you being able to do it at your best every single night. And for me, it's, I remember seeing my first national tour. I saw In the Heights at DPAC, which is a North Carolina little touring house. And it's beautiful and awesome. I remember seeing it in the Heights, and it was my senior year of high school. And I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And then I got to perform there back in November. So that was just such an amazing memory for me. So for me, I never know. You talk about the kids seeing the show and the teen editions and stuff. I never know when there's going to be a Nick Colón out there who is seeing the show. And that's the moment that it clicks. And that's the moment where they turn to their mom or they go home and tell their dad, it's like, Dad, I really want to do this. I love being that level of inspiration for people. Also with this show in particular, I've found that so many couples come to the show, you know, you and your wife, and it's like you have the dual stories. You have the new lovers who have just fallen in love. Everything's great, honeymoon phase, and then how far would you go for the one that you love? You also have the other side of it where they, you know, Hades and Persephone have been together for eons, and can you make the choice to try again? You know, even after people grow so far apart and the miscommunication and, you know, the honeymoon phase is over and you've grown so far apart, can you like actually make a decision to like try again and fall in love again? And so that's been my biggest whys for this tour is I never know when there's going to be a little Nick Colón out there who says that I want to do this. And also, you know, it's just a reminder to all those amazing couples out there that life is short, life is worth living, and especially when you find a partner that is of that level of love, it's always worth it to try it again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow, that's a very beautiful way of thinking about it. And you know, like you're talking about, like, you know, like who are the, you know, the young kids in the audience, but I think you're probably inspiring, you know, maybe some adults too, that maybe like, you know, like I wanted to do this, but I never did. You know, maybe I can try. Maybe I can go to, you know, my local theater. Maybe I can, you know, try out for that part. Maybe I can, you know, like do this piece, you know, and see what happens. You know, like we run like an acting studio or an acting class here, and a lot of the people that come in, you know, like are career actors, but some it's like their first time, right? And they're like, I've always wanted to do this, I never did, and now's the time to do it, right? They're into adulthood, they're into their adult lives, the rigmarole of all that goes into
now,
it,
like,
and they just go for it, right? So I think there's plenty of people that that you're inspiring because, and I'm not just saying this because you make it cool. I'm not just like, you know, like I'm sitting there with my wife and watching, like, man, that is freaking cool. You know, like the way the costume on, you move, and, you know, like everyone else is like jumping around, but you're just kind of like this cool character that just owns everything.
No, the moment, because I'm in some snakeskin cowboy boots. Like, it's the most, like, I wish I had my, like, I have 5 rings that I put on, the 3-piece suit, the giant trench coat that I'm so in love with. And it's just, God, I love this show. But also energy drinks are another reason why I'm able to do the show every single night. I wait till it's about that time. We're in the cast meeting. It's about 4 p.m. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Crack one open. Here we go. But also talking about like wellness on tour too. This one is actually, it's so funny how simple things can be. I realized that all I need at night is a FaceTime with my girlfriend. And that always just like calms the day away. But also video games. I've been an avid gamer since I was a kid. And actually, that's my Xbox. So I found out, I was like, oh, I bought a traveling case. I bought this traveling case. And I was like, oh my God, I can actually just bring my Xbox with me. And that has been, you want to talk about having a long day show, you wipe off the makeup, all the hair product, and then you just sit down and you can just play for a little bit. And that's been such a helpful part of this tour compared to the other ones. Because there's a lot of times where like, man, people get back to the hotel and there's just nothing. It's like, I guess I'm gonna watch Netflix. I'm gonna, you know, some people don't read books. So it's just like tour life, you have to find an outlet to decompress with. Some people use the gym, some people use going on long walks. But for me, it's always been getting my butt whooped by some 10-year-old who's just way better at games now than me. And that's it. Yeah.
Right. Now, do you like, how do you like interact with like the rest of like the cast and the crew when you're traveling, right? So like when you come back, you know, like does everyone kind of like go on their own ways and like this is me time now, or are there groups that kind of get together?
It heavily depends on what you need at the end of the night. I'm someone who, you know, I'm about to be a decade out of like college, and I've done the tour thing and I've done cruise ships and stuff. And I've realized that like, for me personally, like I just need me time after a show. I don't want to hang out with anyone. I spend my whole entire days with people with the cast and stuff. And they're good people. But there's other people who love to socialize. They'll go out, they'll, you know, they're in these amazing cities. They'll go party, they'll go grab a drink and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a full mixed bag. There's people like me who really enjoy alone time. And then there's a lot of people who are just, you know, they have built some amazing friendships on this tour, and they'll just go and they'll all grab food. They'll just head back to the hotel room and just yap for a couple hours and then go back to bed so we can wake up and get on the bus.
Yeah, that's great. So what's the future look for you? Like what perfect world? Like what do you want to do next? Are you allowed to talk about what do you want to do next?
So my partner's been amazing with this whole long distance and me traveling. She's actually coming. Our 2-year anniversary is on Friday, so she's coming, and I'm gonna spend the summer in the city with her. I want to just relax, and because I'm someone who I always stay, not a bragging way, I always stay booked. I'm always on. I've always just gone show for the last like decade, except for the pandemic. And even during the pandemic, I was just booking voiceovers the entire time. That I just stay busy. And I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I want to spend the summer with her, just enjoy that time, just add more to the foundation and everything. But I'm already signed up for year 2. So, we start again in September, and then we start year 2 at the Pantages in Hollywood for 2 weeks. So, yeah, I'll start that and then do that. And yeah, man, it's a big hope. I look at I think one of the coolest things about when I watched Hadestown on Broadway and having done it now is I'm like, man, I could do it. I can do it. And it's I've built enough experience for my career and how to be a leader and how to handle a show. And I know how to handle long running shows, and I know that I can give my all every single night. So yeah, my hope is I said I'm totally with this. My hope is that I can use this next year to cultivate even more of a following, get even more exposure. Because there's been some videos that have gone like viral and stuff like that, which has helped out so much. And the follower count is getting higher and higher, and that stuff does matter. But yeah, Hades is a hard role to stunt cast, and there's not a lot of celebrities who can just start hitting low C's and stuff like that. Right. Yeah, that's a big hope. I'm definitely young for the role, but I also know that, you know, I would put myself up there against anyone. And so, I'm hoping another year helps cultivate more of a following and get that stuff going. And if the producers think that the time is right, then who knows? Maybe you might see me in New York sometime. Yeah.
Well, I as a fan, I truly hope that for you. I mean, because there's certain people that like we always say like in the film industry, like they jump off the screen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you were one of those people that, you know, like just jumped off the stage, right? Like it was just kind of like, wow, that was talent. And people need to see that. So I hope that for you, you know, because I think you deserve it, because you're really good at what you do.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah. What about, so speaking of film, if a screen project comes up, do you have any aspirations to do that part of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I don't know why, like, cause, I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, and like, I'm actually just one of the few people who wanted to pursue musical theater. Everyone else in my class has done so much TV, film, commercials. I've done a couple commercials here and there. But yeah, I had an audition for, I don't even know the show. It's called Subliminal. And yeah, I had an audition for that the other day, and I was like, oh, I never get these like little TV auditions. So yeah, I absolutely, in a heartbeat, because also you want to talk about pay. You work a week on a film set, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so much money for so little work. But yeah, no, if that stuff ever did come around, I see, because that's also, I think it leads one way into another, because you see on Broadway, people go from tours, they go to Broadway, and then the moment they get to Broadway, TV goes, ooh, name, and then then you start doing that's when you start becoming a person on SVU. It's like then every Broadway actor ever has done an episode of SVU at some point. And yeah, I've just noticed that trend. It's like they get on Broadway, they become a name, then all of a sudden they disappear, and you're like, where are they? And then they show up in some movie or TV show. So yeah, we'll see if that's what the cards have in store for me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hopefully, if anyone's listening, to this that is looking for, like a Nick type person, his manager or his agent might answer the phone. So
yeah, I'm here. So take a break.
Give him a call. Well, awesome. I think we're kind of like running out of time. Is there anything else that you have coming up that you like to promote, or anything that we should let our audience know about?
It's just Hadestown. Hadestown's going to be my life for the next year. So, and hopefully more. So yeah, check us out at hadestowntour.com, and check out the list of next year 2's dates, because we're going to be everywhere. We're in LA, we're in Boston, we go to Canada for a little bit. Yeah, so we're hitting some really cool, we're in DC. We got some really cool markets coming up for year 2. So, yeah, check us out. We're actually in Columbus next year, I think.
Oh, are you? Well, then, hey.
Yeah, I have to double check. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll probably have to come out again.
Because of people who've come see the show, like we've done cell numbers, we've done so well. We recouped being, we got the producers all their money back. We got that back in, I think, 4.5 months, which is just unheard of. It was really fast. And because of that, all these A markets like Chicago and LA and all these other different places are like, come back because you've been selling like crazy. So yeah, next year's gonna be really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's great to chat with you, and just thanks for being open and telling your story and all that. I think it's really beneficial for people to hear and be inspired by. They're like, hey, here's a real dude that's really doing it, and he's telling you how it works. I think that's huge. So and best of luck for everything coming up.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much.